We're having a bit of a problem with the lights, so if the lights should go out for any reason, the actors are just going to on. So please forgive us for that. I think we're ready to go. Otherwise, enjoy the show and have a great night.
This play is based on interviews by the members of our theater company soon after the events at Menachap, California in the year of 2020. The interviews were filmed. Tonight's performance is based off those interviews, as well as other available primary sources, including letters, newspaper articles, recordings, and security camera footage.
Should I start?
Can you tell us your name, please?
Glenn Hage. Should I start?
We're already rolling.
This is when I was much younger. This is much new into law enforcement. I had this idea that I wanted to be an artist. I lived in New York at the time, 5th story walk-up. Tiny studio, and well, I had this idea I wanted to be a painter, so I'd wait tables during the day and I'd stay late up at night doing watercolors, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. That's when I realized I had this neighbor. Well, every night at 3:30, I'd hear his alarm go off and he'd say, "Not again." And then every night at 4:15, I'd hear him descend down the stairs, but I never saw him. One night I finally had enough. I had to see what this guy looked like, so at 3:30 when his alarm went off, I turned off my own light. I crept up to my front door. There's a peephole about this big, with a giant metal plate that covers it. So, as I turn off my own light, I creep up to my door. I slide that metal plate to the side and look through that peephole. Then it happened. This involuntary scream, a real scream, not like a horror movie scream. It was like a loud, rapid, choking sound. Because what happened was, when I looked at that peephole, there was an eye. He was staring back at me. I fell back, huge commotion as I hit the bathroom floor. I froze, I didn't know what to do. Well, I heard keys on the other side of the door, so, well, now I had to see what this guy looked like. So I get back up and I look at that peephole. There it is again. There's that eye. It's my reflection. I realized it's just in time to see a freaked out postman heading down the stairs. That was the most scared I've ever been, and it was just me scaring me. I told Candelaria about that story, and she said, "You're missing the one part about the story that scared you the most." Sure, you were startled at first, but what did you do at first? You turned off the lights. People are naturally scared of the dark.
When I was 8, we lived in a house in Denver, North Carolina. That was just about a quarter of a mile from Kendall Avenue, the main shopping street. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom, it was a tall house, and from my bedroom on the 4th floor, I could see a billboard. It was an ad for the Diet Coke, and in the picture, 2 guys and a girl were clowning around, but exaggerated. They were posing for each other. I remember loving that billboard because to me, it was a picture of infinity. Models acting like people, acting like models. It was the first time I had encountered recursion, something that bends back into itself, that refers to itself, and so it becomes a loop. My name is Candelaria Ortiz. When the incident at the Oak Box happened, they were trying to understand it from every angle: criminal, psychological, biological, and philosophical. That's why they brought me in.
We have this, well, I have this picture. We were on our way to church and everybody looked so nice that I lined us up with a timer and I took one. Me with my arms squeezing all 3 of them. Before I could take the next photo, I looked at it and it was a miracle shot. It was like the Hail Mary of impromptu photos. So I had it printed, 8 by 10, and I put it in a frame. That frame though, the cardboard leg that balances it broke, so instead of doing that, I had to put it on the way top shelf and lean it up against the wall. That night, all the kids were headed out to the play. I noticed that the frame had slid down, so I had to pick it up to lean it up against the wall again. So one moment of grace as they walked out the door, I looked at that picture.
Menachap isn't a town anybody outside of Amador County's ever heard of. But everyone's surprised at how pretty it is. Once you get off 234, it's all rolling hills and green. Most people's job has something to do with parsley farming. Yes, believe it or not, there are parsley farms, big ones. Not a lot of people come here, but not a lot of people leave. They like it because it's peaceful and safe.
My wife had pink eye, so I was gonna pick up our friend Harlan. And when I got there, he says, "You're just in time. The kitchen sink's a disaster." Well, I'm a contractor, not a plumber. But I said okay, and after about 5 minutes, I tell him, it's gonna be the clog or the show. You okay with blowing off the show? He said, sure, and then after, we can get a drink. I said okay, but we're gonna pretend that we went to the show.
So, I'm brand new to my job. I mean, it's my 4th day ever as a detective, and well, I'm already screwing things up. And it's stupid things, like why are there 2 conference rooms, and do I press 9 on the fax machine? Do I not press 9 on the fax machine? And well, you don't really get what you expect there, and hey, cut this part out, but people aren't exactly as nice to me as I hoped they'd be. Anyways, do I press 9 on the fax machine? Do I not press 9 on the fax machine?
It was a printer.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, how could things get worse? And they get worse, and worse, and worse.
Me and Mary Rico were sitting out by the ridge one day, just talking of life, when suddenly we heard this crazy loud sound. It sounded like it came from the oak box. And Mary said it must just be part of the play.
I'm a forensic engineer. If a bridge collapses or a dam gives way or people get trapped in a fire, my job is to figure out what went wrong. Some of the cases are famous. The Hartford Circus Fire in 1944 killed 168 people. The Great White Fire in 2003 killed 100. One of the things you pay attention to is what happened with the doors. There was a famous fire in Chicago in 1903, the Iroquois Fire. See, it was right after Christmas, and so kids were out of school, and the whole theater was full of families, all 3 levels and even standing room on the second. A curtain caught on fire, and what had happened was, the first people to reach the doors realized half a second too late that the doors opened inwards. The people behind them panicked, crowded them, and so they couldn't get the doors open because they were pressed against them with the hinges going the wrong way. When you look at a door that's trapped people, you always find scuff marks halfway up because the impulse is to kick. If there's more time, you'll find dents, sometimes big ones, where somebody got a dresser or a fire extinguisher, something heavy. But the doors at the oak box were different. I've never seen anything like it. You just look at those doors and you thought, what the hell?
I got home, and my wife runs out the door and throws her arms around me. I have no idea what's going on, but it's clear I shouldn't say, oh, we were at the show, and then we went for a drink. Well, then she tells me to look at the news. Well, I'm expecting her to turn on Channel 2, but she turns on CNN.
I wasn't surprised they found me, but I was surprised not to look. My name is Rick Banger. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota. I study fear.
911, what is your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
All right, I'm sending cars, more than one. They're already on their way. What's your name, Chica?
Angela.
Angela. All right, I'm sending them to the Oak Box, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's a play. The high school's doing a play. Is that where you are?
Yes.
In the theater?
Yes.
And somebody's hurt.
Everybody.
Who is that again? Where are you in the theater?
I'm just standing on the stage.
All right, Angela, I'm gonna have you take a very, very deep breath and hold it.
None of it made any sense. All of a sudden, this tiny town is the site of a tragedy that nobody's ever seen or heard of. 241 people fall unconscious while watching a high school play that the program tells us is called Track. We only have a few events for the timeline. We know that the people are fine at 11 after 8 because that's when the usher texts her older brother to pick her up after the show. Then, she goes inside the theater and turns off her phone. At 9:10, 2 kids sitting on a ridge below the theater hear what they think is a foghorn, but they assume it's part of the show. At 9:22, we get the 911 call. A girl named Angela Lure, who it turns out is the only person still conscious in the theater. When we finally get her out of there, she won't talk. She either doesn't know what happened, or she's too scared to say it.
The oak box was
international news. I was hiking in the hills near Clovis, New Zealand when I first heard about it. People falling unconscious in a theater? That was key. I had conflicting thoughts about it. I thought, how horrible. And then I knew. There it was. There's our crew.
I didn't hear about it until morning when it was on every single channel. I had that weird feeling you get when you see something on TV that's right in your neighborhood. I thought, the Oak Box? Again? There's no way this is a coincidence. Everyone said that was 75 years ago, but I remember thinking, I don't care if it was 75 years ago. One theater, two tragedies, there had to be a connection.
Manichep Herald, March 19th, 1946. Bond Measure 2A, funding to build a new theater palace on Semper Bluff, passed with 54% of the vote. According to Mayor Roger Wegman, we intend to use this money to construct a building that will attract visitors to Manichep from all over the country. The search for an architect is set to begin immediately.
From architect Brand Hillock's winning bid for the Manichep Theater project, theaters have soaring spaces, fly spaces, where the scenery can be pulled up and out of view. My plan extends a metaphor of flight throughout the building. At the sides, half arches will rise like wings, lit from within. My hope is that the building will be known as the Manichep Angel.
Manichep Herald, April 1st, 1947. Ground was broken yesterday on the Manichep Angel, our city's 700-seat theater. Mayor Roger Wegman overturned the ceremonial first shovelfuls of earth, then declared that the new theater would be a boon to our economy, and even more, to our spirits.
Letter from Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, April 3rd, 1947. My dear sister, I miss you, and there's no one anywhere in Manichep I can tell this to. I'm disgusted with myself. I had Jonathan all to myself for 3 hours and said nothing. We had dinner at Chauncey's cream room, but it was so somber. Jonathan's been so quiet ever since Pat moved to San Francisco. Why do men have so few friends? He didn't speak, and I couldn't think of anything to talk about except the question, and I simply wasn't brave enough to ask it.
Manichep Herald, April 1st, 1947. 3 days in, construction halted on the Manichep Civic Theater. According to Chief Engineer Faustin Willingham, synastic techniques have shown that the granite bedrock beneath Semper Bluff is twice as thick as previously believed. Our plans call for dressing rooms below ground, as well as stage machinery, including trapdoors. This delay will be a few weeks at most.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, May 25th, 1947. He said yes! Adelaide, I can't tell you how happy I am. The morning before, we were looking out at the lights of the ships, and when he looked away, I got down on one knee and held out his grandfather's wedding band. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What does it look like I'm doing?" "That's not how it's done." I said, "Jonathan, we're going to be married for at least 50 years. No one needs to know how it began." Adelaide, I feel lit from within, electrified. But this time, I promise, not in a bad way. Must run off. The Crowleys are coming over and I have to buy another sofa.
Manichep Herald, May 31st, 1947. Local boy vanishes. 10-year-old Marcus Tumble was reported missing by his parents Tuesday night after he disappeared during a family picnic. He was playing hide-and-seek with his cousins, said his father, Guillermo. Then they went to play on the beach below Semper Bluff, but he never came back. Marcus is 5 feet 2 inches tall and was wearing white shorts, as well as a long black sweater. He's missing a front tooth.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 2nd, 1947. I apologize for the not being clear on the topic of the Crowleys and the sofa. Last week, I was certain that Jonathan would rebuff my proposal, and it drove me positively frenzied. The morning before he proposed, I was alone in the house, and I banged the south wall of the living room with my shoe as hard as I could. I did it again and again and again until I was calm. The sofa arrived just in time, and I was able to blame the movers for the dents in the wall.
Manichep Herald, June 5th, 1947. Yesterday, by a vote of 5-4, the Board of Supervisors authorized new blueprints for the Manichep Civic Theater. According to Supervisor Ed Orenthal, we had no choice given our updated understanding of the geology of the bluff. We've had to abandon the idea of wings.
Letter from Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 7th. Dear sister, every moment of every day is the happiest time of my life. The only shadow is that it's so easy to tip Jonathan into silence. He was so quiet after a joke I made about the kilt he was wearing for the Scottish festival. And then yesterday I said, Jonathan, please don't misconstrue this, but I'm glad your business failed. Finally, you're all mine.
Los Angeles Times, September 2nd, 1947. For the first time in history, residents of Placid Farming Community, Manachap, California are locking their doors. The disappearance of 10-year-old Marcus Tumble has unsettled the town half an hour of Santa Barbara. Marcus disappeared under an area called Semper Bluff during a family reunion. Marcus's mother, Thea, finds it suspicious he should disappear the night of the Scottish festival. All those people we never seen before are walking around wearing skirts. The police say there's no evidence, but I don't need evidence.
Manachap Herald, September 24th, 1947. Man arrested in Marcus Tumble case. Police on Thursday announced that they've taken into custody a suspect in the case of the missing 10-year-old Marcus Tumble. The man in custody is 33-year-old...
Jonathan! September 24th, Adelaide. They've put Jonathan in jail. It's unbelievable. They say he has something to do with that boy who went missing. It's ridiculous. They won't even say why they suspect him.
Letter from Gander, Maine, Esquire to Sampson Bonnet, Esquire. The trial proceeds well. On the stand, Mrs. Tumble pointed to a scratch on a float ring that Mr. Mullis had in his furnished room. She positively identified as a float ring that belonged to her son. But Mrs. Tumble was not her only ally. Watch the jury as they watch Miss Pike. When her fiance grimaces, she grimaces. When he looks downcast, so does she. She impeaches herself as a character witness and will be desperate to testify on his behalf. We must not appear too eager.
Excerpt from the transcript of the trial at the Courthouse by the Sea. Cross-examination of Jonathan Mullis.
So the float ring I'm holding right here, you claim to have picked it up on a beach. Is that right?
Yes?
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I just did.
Were you afraid you might drown?
Laughter in the courtroom.
Objection! Sustained. So on the afternoon of May 30th, afternoon that Marcus Tumble disappeared, you claim to have been taking a long walk at the beach. 4-hour walk, is that correct?
Yes?
Were you in the habit of taking 4-hour walks in the middle of your workday?
No?
Have you ever taken such a walk?
No.
Did anyone see you?
It was a weekday afternoon.
You work at Momsey Limited, shipping and transcription. Is that right? As a typist.
Yes.
How long has it been your employment?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, but you felt comfortable taking 4 hours off?
I needed to think about the world, and my place in the world.
So you took this walk without telling anyone. Mr. Mullis, is that correct?
I wrote a note saying I wasn't feeling well.
And who did you give this note to?
I meant to give it to my supervisor, Mr. Clark, but I found it later in my own pocket.
Manachap Herald, November 12th. Verdict announced. Swift justice. After deliberating for only 5 hours, the Jonathan Mullis jury announced a guilty verdict on the count of kidnapping, and guilty as well on the count of murder. There was a commotion in the first row, and Mullis' fiancée began to wail so loudly she had to be forcibly removed from the courtroom. But the murderer was not to spend 1 minute behind bars. In an extraordinary scene, 2 hours later, the boy's father and 3 armed men rushed the bailiff as they made their way from the Courthouse by the Sea to the transports. From there, they grabbed Mr. Mullis and pulled him into the ocean, where they held his head under the water until he was still. A witness reported that the incident confirmed Mullis' guilt, as he made not a move to free himself, instead allowing himself to be held under without a struggle. Manachap Herald, November 17th. Body of child found. On Wednesday, construction workers at the site of the Manachap Civic Theater uncovered the body of a child. Authorities confirmed that Marcus Tumble was found beneath one of the trapdoors of the long-delayed theater. It's a 1 in a million tragedy, said construction supervisor Clifton Ailes. The theater was sealed for safety, but one of the lower windows had become unlatched. He must have climbed in. From there, he appears to have peered into one of the still shallow trapdoors. Once that heavy door fell shut, he wouldn't have had a chance.
Manachap Herald, February 3rd. Los Angeles Times, February 2nd.
Times Magazine, February 7th.
The opening night of our Civic Theater was home to one of the most extraordinary events ever witnessed by this community.
The long-awaited opening of the Manachap Civic Theater will long be remembered.
3 months after the discovery of a boy beneath the still under construction trap of the theater,
The tragedy known to every member of our town.
the opening of the theater was finally underway.
The night drenched in a sudden squall. walked past the audience, stashed their umbrellas, and shook off their coats, eager to put the events of the past few months out of their minds.
The audience watched, rapt, as Mita, passionately played by Broadway actress Selena Rasmussen, called her children to her breast one final time. But as Mita wailed her vengeance, Norma Pike, fiancée of the unfortunately accused Jonathan Mullis, entered the theater, dressed in all green.
Less dressed than a costume.
Dressed like the ocean,
She held aloft the glass.
tall, green, and full of liquid.
Held it high, like a torch, and proclaimed,
Welcome to this theater, your theater.
later, most of the audience would report that they thought this to be a part of the performance.
This ugly box will become famous, but not in the way you hoped. No one will ever think of this dank shell of oak without thinking of the 3 people who died because of it. The boy who it suffocated. The man murdered because of that boy. And the woman who cursed this building for all time by drowning in it.
Some looked away. The rest wished that they had, as
She brought the glass to her mouth and tipped it back.
Poured it straight into her throat.
aspirated the entire contents of the glass.
Swallowed it without swallowing.
Her eyes bore into the audience before going dark. She falls dead to the floor.
In front of 700 people, Miss Pike drowns herself in a glass of seawater.
Page 71 in Ponte, California by Naomi Sanderson. In the years since the triple tragedy, dozens of people, moonlight sweethearts and schoolboy daredevils, have looked up at the single Miko window in the theater lobby and seen a figure. Some see the outline of a boy, trapped and afraid. Others see the outline of a man, eyes closed and resigned. But on the rare occasions that storm watchers find themselves overtaken and drenched, the shade illuminated by the lightning flashes of a woman. She holds a sea green goblet, smiles an invitation. Drink with me.
After the Oak Box incident, one of the things that we needed to understand was why Menachep, why the Oak Box. My theory was that they might have chosen a place where there were some rights already built in just by being in the building. Every single person in town knows the story of Norma Pike, the local tragedy. On an impulse, really, I googled scary theaters. It's a topper sold. 4 terrifying theaters: Princess Theatre in Melbourne, Australia, Mill Film Center, Kansas City, Philippines, Theatre Royale, Australia and London. And then there it is. 4 out of 4. Oak Box in Menachep, California. I got chills because I realized that that's how they found the Oak Box.
It was that Sunday morning, 18 hours after the Oak Box incident. 236 members of the audience and 5 members of the cast. On the ground, breathing, thank God. But 2 mysteries. What happened to these people? That was the first question, of course. And the second was the doors. How do we make sense of those doors?
Could you tell us your name, please?
I'm Avishai Lenzer. I'm the Chief Forensic Engineer with the California Department of Infrastructure.
Efren Salas. I'm a firefighter with Station 41, Menachep County.
My name is Isa Puente. I'm a neurobiologist at UC Berkeley.
I was the first one in the theater that night. I saw the girl on stage. I'm the one who picked her up. But before I grabbed her, she said the one thing we couldn't figure out. 4 words.
The first thing I noticed about the bodies was the lack of what's called relative resonance. It's the tendency of people to, in tragic situations, cluster. After a fire, you'll find friends holding each other or a parent wrapped around a child. But the bodies at the Oak Box were different. People who didn't know each other fell on top of each other, and people who loved each other in life sprawled in different directions.
Theater camera 1.
What about this girl? Sarah West. She's close to the door. Was she leaving early?
No, look at the way she fell. She was running.
And she's wearing earbuds. She wasn't paying attention to the play.
Can you tell what she was listening to?
It's classical. Gymnopédie number 1.
Gymnopédie number 1 by Eric Satie.
Yeah, sure.
Something else is strange.
Hey,
Yeah.
something wrong?
I didn't know you knew my name.
Hey, what do you notice that's strange about the positions of the bodies?
The bodies, the programs, they're all holding them up like this, like they've been trying to read them up until the very last second.
That's what I noticed too.
It was the speed that threw me. What could have overcome so many people so fast? Maybe an electrical impulse, or maybe some kind of gas had overcome them. We scoured the ventilation systems. There was nothing.
I was in the theater a lot. I wanted to spend time with them.
I said to the firemen, any thoughts on what could have overcome these people so fast?
How do you know it was fast?
Of course it was fast.
That's when they brought me in. Figuring out how long a body has been unconscious is actually not that hard to do if you have the right equipment. When a person loses consciousness, their body temperature drops by 2.5 degrees, but that takes a while, so we attached electrodes to their foreheads, microthermometers. And what we found was a surprise, to say the least.
It didn't make any sense.
The first one to fall was Paul Schmidt in seat A13. Next was Anna Stroheim 3 rows back in D41. The first 26 people didn't lose consciousness all at the same time. They went down one by one.
I said, are you sure of this?
Theater camera 1. Continuous.
I'm positive. Look at this. It's the seating chart for the oak box. A13, D41, what do you notice?
Nothing.
Next was F42.
So, front row, aisle, and then the back of the aisle.
Then Ladas Rajiv, L19.
The back of row L is at the horizontal aisle in the middle. It started at the front and the back and the sides.
Exactly. It works that way until the 26th person, though. Franklin James.
Oh, I know Frank.
Whatever happened to them, it started at the edges and worked its way in.
No.
It's like something cooking.
No. This doesn't seem like a natural phenomenon. This was attackers.
Agreed.
241 people have fallen unconscious at a high school play, which doesn't make any sense because they can see every angle around them. I just don't see how humans could possibly do this.
Meaning what exactly?
I'm not sure.
Hey, can you guys shut up for a second? There. Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything.
There, again. I lived in Alaska till I was 10, so I've got really good hearing. Your ears are always covered there. Again, it's like a chirp.
No.
The bodies, they're making a sound.
Which bodies?
All of them.
Sunday morning, we had 2 mysteries. Sunday afternoon, we had 3. What happened to these people? What were the sounds Ephraim was hearing? And again, the doors. Those people had 45 minutes to leave, and those doors were wide open.
And on top story tonight, a mystery. Un evento misterioso.
On Monday morning, we put out footage. The tips came flooding in. By noon, we'd received messages from 5 continents. We pulled investigators from other counties to check out every single lead.
I got the slush pile. It was crazier than anything that anyone has ever seen, and it was certainly bigger than anything I've seen.
I read a book once about intelligent monkeys.
Something
My name is
just
Jasper.
like
See,
that.
trust me.
That must have been one boring play.
Transcript call, Seattle, Washington, October 7th, 7:32 p.m.
Oakbox Hotline.
Hello, yes, my name is Marion J. I'm a professor at the University of Washington, and what I'm about to say will sound crazy.
Uh-huh.
Is this a secure line?
Yes, why?
I'm going to tell you something, but you have to promise not to hang up on me.
I can't promise that.
You've got a theater full of people who fall unconscious.
Yes?
And by now, you've probably figured out that they've been attacked one by one.
Yes.
I think you're dealing with something called Faranox.
Faranox? What are Faranox?
Start with what
but they're not. Which is human.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up now.
Are all your victims still alive?
Yes?
They won't be if you hang up. You have less than a week until their hearts start to stop.
Fair enough.
They look human, but they're not.
Why haven't I heard of them?
Hello? Hello? Is somebody there? Sorry. I thought I heard something. You haven't heard of Faranax because they don't want you to. Their attacks are rare. They're like locusts. They attack every 16 years. The last attack was in Goldsmith, Scotland in 2005, and then 16 years before that, it was in Iceland, and then 16, and then another 16, and then another 16. This is swarming behavior. These creatures, they attack me, and they all die. All but one, a caretaker who watches over the larvae while they grow, which means that all Faranax are 16 years old, except one.
All right, thank you. We've made note of your call, and we'll get back to you if necessary.
You know, was there an unusually high amount of new students at Menachep High School this year?
Yes?
And at least one teacher?
The theater teacher.
What happened to the old one?
He died.
Suddenly? And with no apparent cause?
Yes, how would anyone know any of this?
Oh!
What?
Nothing. My house must have blown a fuse. I can't see a thing. There are four of us hunting Faranax, and there are four of us hunting Faranax, and at the same time, they are hunting us, but they have an advantage.
Which is?
They know for sure that we exist.
And who are the other three?
There's a zoologist in Colombia named Keta Baguruza, and an evolutionary biologist named Melissa Tang, and a professor at the University of Toronto. He studies fear. Who's there? Who's there?
Then I heard it. A click.
Call ends at 7:37 p.m.
I sat in the call room for a minute, thinking to myself, what could I do? I could walk into Sergeant Brock's office and say, hey, I know this might sound crazy, but I might be onto something. Truth is, I believed her. But as ridiculous as it sounded, I had a choice to make. And so, I moved on to the next call.
At first, we weren't sure what we were studying. Hunting. As it turned out, the key had already been discovered by a Bolivian named Keta Muguruza. She and her postdoc, Biopenti, won the 2017 Nobel Prize in Biology for their work.
Estamos estudiando algo que la gente había notado durante siglos.
3 months. No. We're studying something people have noticed for centuries.
Se llama el enigma de la viuda negra.
It's called the Black Widow Conundrum. When an insect gets caught in a black widow's web, the spider doesn't attack right away. Instead, it follows a particular, almost ritualized pattern of movement. The moth knows that something approaches, slowly. The widow moves herself into view, large, black, shiny. The moth is terrified, jerking the web up and down, as the widow lifts her forelegs to reveal a blood-red hourglass. Adrenaline flows through the moth and into the web, where the black widow bathes in it.
It's a brilliant evolutionary strategy because it's a way to get nourishment from a different part of the animal. Every other predator on the planet feeds on the meat of its prey, but these creatures, they subsist on the powerful chemicals secreted by animals who are terrified. They feed on fear.
A creature that feeds on fear has a very different hunting strategy than the one that feeds on flesh. If terror is what sustains you, then you have to create it. And so, Faranax don't chase their prey. They trap it.
The Venus flytrap and the Black Widow, the two most famous Faranax. A plant, an insect. But then there was an evolutionary jump.
The idea that a species of Faranax might be capable of mimicking humans was so hard to wrap our heads around that we had to take a step back and ask not how could this happen, but why would it? Why would it be worth it to prey on humans when there are thousands of other animals out there that are easier to capture?
Evolution follows the prey, and the juicier the prey, the more clever the trap. Faranax's chosen prey, their only prey, are the animals on Earth most susceptible to fear.
The human mind has evolved in such a way to make it incredibly adept at sensing danger on the horizon. Is that a snake in the grass or a branch? Was that sound a lion or thunder? All of this kept us alive for 100,000 years, but when we left the jungle, our capacity for it didn't disappear. It just repurposed itself, and so now instead of worrying about being eaten by a tiger, we worry about our next math test.
All the anxiety we produce is useless to us, but from a Veronarch's point of view, it makes us the equivalent of a large, slow-moving steak.
Can I tell you a secret?
Story of Marion J., professor of neuroscience at the University of Washington. Professor J was well-liked and well-respected. Her unexpected passing has thrown a cloud over the campus. Professor J survived by her parents, Martin and Pamela J., as well as her grandmother, Thelma Lampkin.
Interview with Kenosha Silverling Johnson. October 5th, 9:30 a.m. Menachap High School, second floor, counseling office.
Do you know why we're having this conversation?
Because of yesterday.
Can you be more specific?
Because of what happened in the woods.
We're here because of what you said happened in the woods.
It happened.
You talked to a lot of people yesterday and you told them all the same story.
Yes.
Is that story something you're sure is true, or is it possible that you made some of it up?
No, it was all true.
See, that's why we're here today, Kenosha. Because about that story about what happened in the woods, that couldn't have possibly happened.
When Kenosha was born, she was perfectly fine, but when she was 3 weeks old, she had a seizure. We were afraid we'd lose her. You could tell right away that something had changed.
I remember Kenosha's first day in the shop because she got up to addition board, only the string for the pencil was broken. So there was no way to put your name on it, and I said, if you want to audition, I've got a pen. She said, my name is Kenosha R. Silverling Johnson.
I don't know who started it first, but that R.
The R?
The R?
The R was to distinguish herself. To distinguish herself from all the other Kenosha Silverling Johnsons.
The kids at her old school could be so mean. Menachap was supposed to be a fresh start.
Thinking back, that was a bad start. We always kept like a little bit of distance.
Kenosha had all the normal emotions, like grief and nervousness and happiness, but they weren't really wired right. Like she'd grimace to say, I love you. She spent her whole life studying people's expressions, and she got quite good at showing the right emotion, but she was acting. It was like she was doing it phonetically. But there was one thing that she could never manage to do, and that was to lie. There was too much going on for her. Where do you put your hands? Do your eyes look up or down? She couldn't calibrate the information.
She told me one time, get this, she couldn't go to homecoming with me because her uncle was an astronaut. I was never gonna ask her, but it still made me feel bad.
I'd give her lessons. I'd say, okay, so the situation is you're 2 hours late and I've been trying to reach you. I'm frantic and I'm angry, go. She'd go blank. I'd say, now you tell me that your phone ran out of battery, and she was awful. I'd say, Kenosha, you have got to master this. You're gonna have the most boring teenage years of anybody on earth.
The bench incident really was an accident. You know the lunch tables. They're long with these long benches. Well, I went on the other side where Kenosha was sitting and asked if anyone was sitting there. And she said, no. So I picked it up and moved it over to our table so we could fit more people. In the long term, it actually worked out for her because when she was sitting there all alone is when Clifton went over to her.
Clifton? Oh, where to start? Clifton's a mega dreamboat.
Yeah, I think that's it. He's just really, really nice.
Kind. So sweet.
We don't really have homecoming kings or queens or any kind of prom royalty, but if we did, you know he'd be both kings.
He just walked over and asked if he could sit with her.
Do you know what made you walk over to her?
There was one thing, actually. When I saw her the first time, her phone rang, and she didn't even look at who it was, but she made herself smile. And when she answered the phone, you could hear it in her voice.
I look over, we're in the cafeteria, right? And she's making him laugh.
A lot of times she was hilarious on purpose, but not always. Once I was laughing so hard.
His head literally hits the table.
Once she said to me, I like you more than water.
You'd see them everywhere together. He'd laugh and put his arm around her neck.
I really couldn't tell if it was romantic or not. So it's barely a week into school, and there's this new girl in front of the audition board. A Only the string for the pencil was broken.
I wanted to be in a play, so I did some research and I found the best book about acting, which is Udo Hagen's Respect for Acting. And it's pretty famous, and it's great. You should read it if you're interested in acting at all.
We had talked about the idea of Kenosha being involved in theater because, well, I thought you'd be quite good. She was so good at mimicking emotions, I said, well, sweetheart, go for it.
Kenosha, that story you told to so many people, it scared them and made them anxious.
Did they cancel the play?
No.
Then it didn't scare them enough.
Why do you want the play canceled?
Something bad is going to happen.
What's gonna happen? Can you tell me that?
It was really early for the fall play to be happening, but, you know, we just went with it. We thought that it had something to do with the Mr. Pendulum tragedy.
Marsh Pendulum was one of my best teachers. Such a shock. 2 days before the start of school, just bam, dropped out of a heart attack. He was 38, didn't smoke, exercised. You know how that just happens sometimes.
On the day of the auditions, Kenosha comes home and she busts in the door and I'm like, how did it go? She said, I nailed it.
I saw her audition. She was really good. If I told her, you may never know.
The next day I get a call from Kenosha from school and she's talking very fast. I say, what happened? She said, I didn't get a part. I say, well, sweetheart, that just happens sometimes. She said, but I was the best one. I said, even then, there could still be a reason. She said, no, something's up.
So I came into the first cast meeting to see if I could do something for Tech. When she comes in and starts to make some sort of announcement, and then she just doesn't. She starts to make some weird beeping noise.
That was a panic attack.
She fell hard, one knee. She couldn't breathe. She practically crawled out of that room.
A person who tells a story over and over, it gets a performance aspect to it. They subconsciously know what kinds of things are getting a reaction, and the more they tell the story, the more they lean into those aspects of it. The story doesn't get so much memorized, it's etched.
So she says to me, I want to tell you a story. Please just listen.
She said, please, just listen.
Please, just listen. Yesterday, I made it out of the school, but I hit my left knee.
My left knee.
Right here, so I couldn't go very fast.
I was allowed to walk home on the highway as long as I faced the traffic. When I looked behind me, I saw 3 figures way back, and I knew I had to get away from them.
There's that big strip of forest between the highway and the Walmart, and before I jumped in, I looked back and they were way closer. The forest is deep, but I could through it all the time.
The forest is deep, but I could throw it all the time, so I knew I'd have the advantage, but when I look back,
I got so scared.
I got so scared because they had turned in after me. They wanted me in the forest, and they were fast.
And all of a sudden, there's this sound, crazy loud.
The loudest thing I've ever heard.
Ever. I can't tell where it's coming from. I'm shaking.
I ran
faster than I could see.
I turned back, and this is the thing that scared me more than anything ever.
One by one, their eyes lit up.
Which I know sounds crazy.
I remembered that there was a kitty carnival in the Walmart parking lot. Just some bumper cars and a kitty coaster. There, you could hear the 7-year-olds screaming as they went down the dip of the coaster.
All I needed was to get to them. But I looked back and there weren't 3 pairs of little eyes. There were 2.
Where's the other one?
and I had a decision to make. Do I try to make it to the parking lot carnival, or do I hide in the forest? For some reason, the scariest idea is that I almost make it, that I'm just a few inches from safety, and the third one will be waiting, and he'll grab me in his arms.
And I can't do it. I can't go forward. People don't naturally look up because we have no predators from up there, so I start climbing a tree.
I start climbing a live oak.
A live oak, and halfway up, I freeze. 2 get to me, then the other. They don't see me when their eyes light up the ground.
They start to argue.
They start to argue about whose fault it was, and then they go up and they grab him! They grab him by his head! He's trying to scream, please! No! No! They whisper something in his ears! He just died as a little tree! What they whisper was getting to me was secret!
Kenosha, can you concentrate just a bit longer here? You said their eyes lit up, and those have just been flashlights?
No, I know the difference.
Do you know of anyone whose eyes light up?
No.
So it's possible you imagine.
No.
Look, if what you said is true, there have been 4 sets of footprints, but they only found yours.
They must have erased them.
They followed the track to a tree, just like you said, but there was no body.
Then they moved it.
And what about that sound you said you could hear coming from everywhere?
Yes, it was a foghorn.
There are no foghorns within 200 miles.
It was a foghorn.
Foghorns are an example of a phenomenon known as duotones, sounds that mean different things in different contexts. In the distance, a foghorn tells you you're safe. It's comforting. But when you hear it loud, you're too close. It's too late.
After that incident in the woods, Kenosha started to act strange. Like she wouldn't go to the south wing, where the theater is. Wouldn't go at all, even to chem lab. And I'd say, Kenosha, you're putting your whole chem grade in jeopardy, but she still won't go anywhere near that theater.
She started to talk bad about the play to me. She said, this play is like a malady. I didn't quite know what she meant.
She told me the play would be like a sick dog, but worse.
She said that it would leave a greenish taste in my mouth.
It's amazing she had time to go to class. She talked with over 2/3 of the school.
That night, she pulled me aside and said, let's not go to the play, let's go to my house and let's play charades.
She said, let's have a movie night.
She said, please, please, please don't go to the play. I said, Kenosha, I'm in the play.
Kenosha was so scared to go to the play, but of course she went anyway. She thought she could save those people. My brain has an anchor right here. It weighs down my thoughts, and I can't see through it.
Please, I like you more than water.
Kenosha told everyone she met that the play was going to end in terror. I knew she couldn't lie, and I still didn't believe her.
Email from Marion J. to Glenn Hayes, October 5th, 3 days before she was found dead in her study.
Paradox are perfect replicas of people. These creatures pass as human everywhere, and they mimic our emotions. The only person that has never been able to detect a paradox was the girl who was mimicking emotions herself, Kenosha.
Email from Marion J. to Glenn Hayes, 2 days before she was found dead in her study.
Mr. Haish, please respond to me. When Faranox attack, it's 99.9% fatal. Like rabies. Once you're attacked, you have up to 2 weeks until your heart stops. And it's going to stop. Out of the whole history of time that this has been happening, there's only ever been one survivor.
I was still working the slush pile, and, well, there was only one person who knew what happened in that theater, and if I wanted to talk to her, I needed to get an angle. I walked into Sergeant Brock's office and said, let me talk to her.
Like I said, Haish, that girl is useless.
She said forwards to the fireman, which didn't make any sense.
She wanted to get out of there.
What if what she actually said was 4 words? 4 words that someone said to her that night. I can get those 4 words. You have to let me talk to her.
With all those bodies in the theater, it felt heavy and warm, like a greenhouse. See, it was 241 bodies, and they stuck IV tubes into all of them, so they all had the IV bags about here. And that's the first thing you noticed. See, it was actually kind of beautiful. Well, because the theater was dark, and those bags, they glowed.
Efren came to me, asked if he could take some time off.
And he said, I'm sorry, but I need all hands on deck right now.
That's when Efren said, and he choked up a little bit. He goes, I know these people. I love these people.
I wanted to spend time with them, see if I could figure out what those noises were that the bodies were making. And he said, Efren, nobody can hear those noises except for you.
And Efren said, that's why they need me.
Manachap Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4, October 21st, 9:30 a.m.
Angela, it's me, Detective H. I'm studying the oak box incident. I have a few questions for you, and does that camera scare you? It shouldn't. It's just there to make sure nothing bad goes happen, which it won't. But in case it does, we can look back on it. I feel like I know you. Every time I mention your name, everyone, their voice bubbles up. They talk about the soccer team and your sense of humor and that CPR class you started. Well, you said 4 words to the fireman, which didn't make any sense to me. I feel like what you actually meant to say was 4 words. Can I ask you something, Angela?
Get away from me!
I'm so sorry.
Get away!
Sweetheart, I'm sorry.
Help! Help me!
Theater Camera 1, October 25th, 2:45 a.m.
Anyway, Emily, I'll be back to check on you soon. Miss Mel! Oh, sorry, this is Efren Salis. I was in your trigonometry class 14 years ago. I'm here to make sure you're safe and comfortable, but that's not all. I know you can hear me, and I think you're making noises. You and everyone else in this theater. Now, if you could just make one noise, I hear it. I've got great hearing. Try it for me, please. The year I was in your math class was the year those midterms got stolen off your desk before you had time to grade them. Make a noise if you remember that. You know, that year was pretty special for me, because I was one of those 6 kids who had that period free. But instead of making me a suspect, you deputized me. You know, I never got to tell you how much that meant to me, to be trusted like that. That whole experience shaped who I wanted to be. You know, it's part of the reason why I fight fires now. Oh, I just wanted to tell you one last thing. I did steal those tests. Hey!
Quiet!
She made the sound. Nobody heard that? Do it again, just one more time.
You've got to keep your voice down.
But they can hear us.
Menachep Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4.
Thank you for seeing me again, Angela.
Answer every question you pause for more than a second. I kick you out. What's a book you read in high school English?
Hamlet.
In 15 seconds, tell me your life.
I was born in Indiana. I had this dream that I wanted to be an artist, so I moved to New York. That's where I met my husband. We got into law enforcement, and well, my daughter's in 3rd grade.
6 times 8.
48.
What are you most afraid of?
Millipedes.
What's the secret?
What secret?
Tell me the secret, or I kick you
I don't
out!
know what secret you're talking about.
It was 4 words.
4 words. 4 words that someone said to you that night. Can you tell me what they were? Were they male or female?
Male.
Were they adult or student?
Adult.
And can you give me the first word? Just the first one.
The.
The. The first word is the. Thank you.
Theater Camera 3.
There are these scientists in China who have this therapy that, well, it seems to help in coma patients. See, it's this huge machine. It creates sound waves, and it's so big that they had to put it on a cargo plane, and it's already flying across the Pacific. Oh, and then in Cape Town, there's this group that have these eye drops that seem to stimulate brain function. And all over the world, in all different ways, people are praying for you. Captain Donovan!
Efren, I have some bad news. Lab results came back and none of the bodies show brain function.
No brain function that they can measure.
Well, it would register.
You're no scientist. What if whatever happened to these people hides the brain waves?
That's not possible.
Well, this isn't possible.
They're breathing, but they're good as dead.
Then why can I hear them?
Because you want to hear them?
I hear them!
Don't shout at me.
I'm sorry.
It's not good for you to be here so much.
It gives me strength.
When was the last time you slept?
I don't need sleep. Look, they're sleeping for me.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay, I'll sleep.
Menachep Psychiatric Facility, Stabilization Room 4.
Angela, I brought you something. I hear you're pretty good, and I'd love to hear you play. I even brought sheet music. But in order to do that, I'm gonna have to get close, and, well, if that's okay with you, I can... There you go. Are you too achy to play? What about this?
Gymnopédie No. 1 by Eric T. It's known for being calming, soothing. Parents in Europe use it to calm their children.
Beautiful. Whenever you're ready, give me the second word.
Plays.
The plays. Good. What's the third word? Let the music calm you down.
Not.
The play's not. What's the fourth word?
Over.
The play's not over. Why does it scare you, Angela?
Theater cameras 4 and 6. November 1st, 4 p.m.
Captain Donovan, I figured it out.
Efren, I'm here to escort you out.
No!
Yes, Efren.
But I figured it out.
We're worried about you.
Haven't you ever had that dream? Something scary is coming towards you, and you can't move, and you can't make a sound. All you can do are these tiny little squeaks to try and wake yourself up. Captain Donovan, they're trying to scream their way out.
Efren, I like you. I think you respect me.
I do.
But you are not in your right mind.
I'm fine.
I disagree, and I'm ordering you to come with me.
They need me here.
There's no they there anymore.
I hear them.
Because you want to hear them?
I hear them.
The debate now is when to take them off life support.
No!
The doctors made this decision.
Well, then the doctors got it wrong.
I need you to come with me.
Or what?
Or I'll fire you.
I don't care about that.
No department in the country will hire you.
Well, then I'll change careers.
I'm 2 seconds away from dragging you out of here.
You're not big enough.
I brought deputies.
Well, then I'll slip between their legs.
Get out of this theater right now.
No!
Guys.
Wait, no. There's still people in those bodies. Please, you have to listen to me. I need you to know something. I need you to know that you are loved. This town loves you, and God loves you, and I love you too. But help me now. Please, if there's anything you can do, I need you to do it. Just reach me 1%, and I'll reach you the other 99.
Efren, let's go, please.
You hear it?
I do too. I hear it too. They're in there. We'll find a way to get them out.
We've been through this.
Something protected you.
I don't know what.
And what was different about that day?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
And the play. You can't remember anything about it except those 4 words. The play's not over.
I would tell you, it's all blank.
Let's run through the events of the day one more time.
It was a typical Friday. Math, English, biology, social studies, PE, Toastmasters.
Are you good at speaking?
No, that's why I'm in Toastmasters. My head gets all light and I can't remember the speech and then my chest started to tighten. Oh.
What?
It was my day to speak. My dad's an interest. He gave me a pill, Indrol. It blocks the adrenaline from taking over.
You took a pill that blocks adrenaline?
No, I took 3.
Fear isn't rational. Scary movies make us wince, even though we know nothing can come out of the screen and hurt us. Anything. It's fear that should be scary.
Unsent email from Marion Jade, the afternoon of her death.
The attack is so simple. The Faranox says, "Can I tell you a secret?" And the victim says yes, and that's the mistake, since they could think of all the scary things that secret could be. The Faranox whispers something, and a tiny extension of one of their incisors punctures the ear and drains every bit of adrenaline from the victim's body, and they fall unconscious. These things frighten me. I study them, but I study them at a distance. They're right at the border between the monsters who we pretend scare us and the people who actually do.
Theater cameras 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Final recording.
Come on. You can do this.
Hey, who's there?
It's me, Detective Haish, and I'm sure you know Angela. You carried her out of the theater.
Yes, hello. Are you all right?
No.
Being here can take some time.
I know almost every face.
And you can save them all if only you remembered what happened.
Are they still alive?
Well, we're giving them water and nutrients, but soon that's not going to be enough.
Hey, can you leave us alone for a minute?
Of course. I'll be in the back. There's others back there if you need us.
Do you remember where you were sitting?
Right where I am now.
And the days leading up to the play, the posters, they said something.
Yeah. They said, don't tell the secret, but then they changed and they said, can I tell you a secret?
And they changed one more time. They changed to the title of the play. Do you remember that?
I don't.
You don't know the title of the play?
No.
It might help to get up on stage.
No.
Just come on up here. I'll be right with you. You made a phone call from up here. Do you remember that?
I don't.
What do you remember?
I was running from the parking lot. I was already late because of Toastmasters, but it turned out I didn't have to worry. There was some kind of electrical problem that kept us all in the lobby.
Angela! Just get up on this stage, please. This is where they found you. Now I want you to do something for me. I want you to lower your head and close your eyes. And on the count of 3, I want you to open up your eyes, lift your head, and take a deep breath. Okay? 1, 2, 3.
911, what is your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
All right, I'm sending cars, more than one. They're already on their way. What's your name, Chica?
Angela.
Angela. I'm sending them to the Oak Box, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's a play. The high school's doing a play. Is that where you are?
Yes.
In the theater?
Yes.
And somebody's hurt.
Everybody.
Who is that again? Where are you in the theater?
I'm just standing on the stage.
All right, Angela, I'm gonna have you take a very, very deep breath and hold it.
Angela, what are you thinking about?
The end. Calling, knowing it was too late.
I have something for you. This is a program from the night. That's the title of the play.
Trap.
What?
It was right in front of us.
What was?
The play was a trap, and it was even called Trap. The play was in sections. Section 1, a picture of infinity. Section 2, the oak box. Section 3, what held them there. What held us? Something happened in a theater at a high school play. Everyone fell unconscious.
But what had happened to the audience?
The same thing. There were these creatures, things that looked human, but they weren't. They're Farinox. They attacked the audience one by one and then all at once.
But what happened to them?
The same thing. Those creatures, they look human, but they're like black widows. They feed on fear.
So what happened in the play, it happened to the people in real life?
Yes.
Those things aren't real.
Yes, they are.
I promise you they're not.
They confused people. The play was all about the things that were going to happen to us, so once they did, it was hard to tell what was real and what wasn't.
Creatures who put on plays and feed off fear, that's ridiculous.
Sounding like they're ridiculous is how they hide.
Well, they're not real and they're not here now. I want you to take a very, very deep breath and hold it.
Get away from me!
What's wrong?
Help! Who's in the theater?
Hey! Are you all right?
I think we're okay. Should we leave?
No, I just got a little freaked out.
Being here can do that. Do you need me to stay?
Please, for a little bit.
I want you to tell me more about these creatures.
Well, in the final section of the play, which was also called Trap, they started to attack. There was this girl. She went down into the audience and she was narrating everything she was doing.
She stopped and she whispered something in another girl's ear. Can I tell you a secret? And the girl fell over unconscious. But nobody thought anything of it because she was listed in the program as fallen girl. The same thing happened. The girl walked a few rows back. She leaned into another girl's ear and whispered, "Can I tell you a secret?" And the girl fell over.
There was something we couldn't quite figure out all the way. If the paradox attack depends on anxiety, then why are these people falling over? They didn't think it was real, so they should have been safe. These people, they weren't afraid of death. They were worried that one of the actors would come up to them in their ear and whisper something. And they wouldn't know what to do. They had stage fright, which, as it turns out, is just as fatal as fear of death.
By the time she got to me, I was scared. But she whispered in my ear and nothing happened.
You had taken the in-draw.
Yeah,
How many people had fallen over by then?
a lot.
And no one thought to leave?
They were confused. They thought it was the play. There was a girl whose cell phone went off during the show, but she was listed in the program as cell phone girl. Can I tell you a secret?
Stop! Stop the play! My name is Kenosha R. Sibberling Johnson. Everybody, listen up. In a calm and orderly manner, leave the theater. You have to leave the theater for your own safety. There's a small child trapped in a car outside in the parking lot. So you'll all have to go and check and make sure it's not your car. Please leave.
They think you're part of the play.
You're the one playing me.
Yes.
You're not human.
What am I then?
A Fahrenach. You're human, and you are, and you are, and she was. Stay away from them. Now, will you leave?
They think you're part of the play because you are a part of the play.
No, I'm not.
Then why are you in the program?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. It says real Kenosha. Right there.
This is a trick.
What? There's a part of the play where you get chased in the woods.
You came up with a part in the play in case I came back during the attack.
It's a part of the script.
There is no script.
Yes, there is. Right here.
That is not real. This whole thing is a trap.
It's a high school play.
The perfect trap. Everybody has to come, and nobody's allowed to leave. They feed on anxiety. You've only lost a few so far, but that'll change fast. The next thing that you know, the lights will go out, you'll hear a crazy loud noise, and their eyes will light up as they start to feed.
There's nothing you can do that's going to get them out of their chairs.
I don't have to get them out of their chairs. I just have to get rid of you.
Good luck.
I've been hiding in the theater the entire time preparing a surprise.
Ooh, what's the surprise?
If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise. Everyone, they're feeding on your stress. So smile and relax yourselves from the outside in. Now, take a deep breath. Do it! And relax. I promise you will not be called on as a part of this performance. What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Then why are you wilting?
We're acting. Stop. I want to tell you a secret.
No.
If you let me tell you the secret, I'll wake up the rest of the audience.
How?
I can do it.
I don't believe you.
Your only chance to save them is to believe me. Can I tell you a secret?
Stop smiling. Go ahead.
You made a good choice. Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret? Oh, that's a potty.
Can I tell you a secret?
What?
I took 4 Inderall.
Back here! Too bad. Lost your remote. And everyone out here still thinks this is a play.
Everyone but one.
Mom! Wait, what? No!
Now!
That was the sound I heard that night. The sound of all those people being freed. The best scream you could ever imagine.
25 days after the events of the Oak Box began, they came to an end.
My name is Angela Burr, and I survived the Metachaff paradox attack.
My name is Clifton Barnes, and I survived being in the play.
Maura Aoki. I was saved by Kenosha R. Sibling Johnson. Kenosha saved my life. My whole family was in the theater that night.
Thank you, Kenosha.
Thank you, Kenosha! Love you, Kenosha!
Those who fell unconscious that night have no memory of what happened, but it changed them. I published my papers.
I won a medal.
I got a promotion.
I got a praise.
And now I got Kenosha. For many weeks, the town of Medicine, California became famous. But the fame wore off quickly. What happened seemed impossible, so psychologists wrote it off as an example of mass hysteria. People getting scared in a place that already scared them.
I lived through the events of that day, and I'm not even sure if it happened to myself. Was it through the eye of the people, or was it me scaring me?
Everybody settle in. I've got some bad news. The play, it's not over.
The main thing about a trap is it needs to confuse the prey.
Why would a play have a false ending?
What's real, what's not.
Everyone, we're having a little trouble with the lights.
The prey is most vulnerable when it thinks that it has escaped.
The spider's not home. The web almost breaks. I'm almost out of the woods.
It was just me scaring me.
Recursion. A high school play about a high school play. An audience being attacked while watching a play about an audience being attacked.
You say to an audience, "You're gonna die!" And they stay in their seats, because they don't want to miss a thing.
All Faranaxers, 16 years old.
People are naturally scared of the dark.
Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret?